Today we're going to talk about sending HTTP body data to a REST web service as text. This short video will demonstrate how to send HTTP body data as text to a REST service which is expecting application/JSON-patch plus JSON content type. The REST service in question is supplied by Team Foundation Server, and in this demonstration we will create a Team Foundation Server task by sending the request payload as text. The most important thing to bear in mind when sending HTTP body data as text is to supply the payload to the text doc string element under the body XML, which itself must be of complex data type. And this particular element must be defined as under the working data, and this is how we define it. The body XML, as you can see, is defined as an element of complex data type, which, if we look at its properties, features a namespace, which is fine. But its child, the text, which must be named as text doc and must be of type string, it must not feature a namespace. This is very important, otherwise the whole assignment of the payload will not work. So once we have defined the working data text doc element as a child of the body XML, we can map this to the REST caller body XML element, which is defined in the REST caller operation as a REST caller operation parameter. In this case, it is at the very bottom of the list of parameters. So this is how this assignment is done. In order for this to work, first I have added a calculate step to this particular workflow, and I've named it as set payload, which is a completely arbitrary name. And in this particular calculate step, I have stipulated a string expression which contains the payload. And this string expression is assigned in this calculate step to the text doc working data element. This particular demonstration is very simple. It's a bare bones demonstration, and for that reason I have used a very simple assignment step just in order to demonstrate the principle of sending body HTTP data as text. So that particular working data element is mapped to the REST caller body XML element, which you can see here. Apart from this, it is important that we define the REST URL, which in itself contains the REST URL resource, as well as the REST URL operation, as well as the operation which will be executed via this particular post request. And this operation in this particular case is creation of a task, which is stipulated here. And apart from that, it is important that we stipulate that the payload is sent as text, and we do this by setting the send as text parameter as true. We leave send as JSON as false because we are not looking to convert this to JSON. This is very important because if we try to convert to JSON and send it as text at the same time, the assignment of the payload will fail and it will not be accepted by the external web service. A very important parameter in this case is also the send this as content type, and this needs to be, in this particular case, set to application JSON-patch plus JSON, which is the specific content type expected by the Team Foundation server. And again, this may be different depending on what external REST web service one is using. This particular service uses NTLM as authentication method, and for that reason this needs to be clearly stipulated in this particular option. And then the details of the authorization credentials need to be entered under the HTTP authorization NTLM complex element, and these are all strings. It is important that username, password, as well as domain is entered because this type of authentication requires all three of these parameters, seeing as the authentication is taking place against Active Directory and against a specific domain. This is the bare minimum of the parameters and options that are required for data to be sent as text to an external web service. And in order to demonstrate how all of this comes together, we shall now run a transition which will trigger this particular orchestration workflow. And that transition is, in this case, the one called rest_tr. And we shall do that from the user workspace, like so. Now this should trigger the creation of a work item via an orchestration workflow which utilizes REST web service calls. And we can track this. The best way to track this is if we view the common log of this particular application and we refresh it. As we can see, we've got new data, and we can see that the new data has come back without any error messages. We shall inspect the last entry in the common log viewer, and the last entry features an HTTP 200 message, which means the REST call was successful, and this is the full response coming back from the REST web service defining the task which was created, and we can view this particular task in a web browser. And this is the new task which we have created just now. As you can see, this is the timestamp of the task creation with various parameters defining the task in more detail. This concludes this short video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for viewing.